Welcome back to Spotter Red. So I've been ranting and raving about something that happened last Thursday. I am a Atlanta Falcons fan, a pretty big one, even though we do get tired of hearing 28-3. That's pretty annoying. And then our franchise continues to do stuff like this. Everybody gets so pumped up for the draft. I do. I absolutely love it. And then came around to the 8th pick this year, and it just pretty much ruined my night. It's not about Penix. It's truly not about the player. It's just, what are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? We have had six straight losing seasons. Just because we signed Kirk Cousins doesn't automatically make us a playoff team. Does it make our team better? Hell yeah, it does. Every NFL team needs a quarterback. Every fan understands this. I don't have to be an armchair GM, quarterback, whatever the hell you want to call it, to understand that you need a quarterback to win in the NFL. And you don't have the luxury after 6 losing seasons to draft a quarterback in the first round at the 8th pick. So, I'm going to try to justify why I'm so upset with this pick. So, we're going to talk about Terry Fonta. No. Why did he make that pick? Or, if you want to say his name phonetically, it's Fonta, not a good GM right now. I see him trying to explain to Arthur Blank that, hey, we got to take a quarterback now. We're going to be in the playoffs for 3 years. We might not have a pick before the 25th pick in the next 2 years. You've been saying that for 2 years. Everybody's been saying, oh, the Falcons, they're going to win 10 games. They might win 9 games. Well, you're not. And until you prove that, you don't pick luxury. So, let's get into this. Terry Fontenot was hired in 2021 to be the GM of our Atlanta Falcons. I should have known something with him being with the Aints. That's the New Orleans Saints, to people not from Atlanta. The Aints for 16 years. But I will digress. Maybe it was 17 years. Who's counting? But anyway, so his first year in the 4th overall pick in the 2021 draft, he takes Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. Incredible athlete. Incredible tight end. But it was a luxury pick. Do you know why it was a luxury pick? Well, let's look back the year before. So, in 2020, the Falcons traded for Hayden Hurst. They traded their 2nd round pick, which was 55th overall, and a 5th round pick, which was 157th pick overall, to the Ravens for Hayden Hurst and a 4th round pick. So what did the Falcons do with that 4th round pick? They picked 134th overall. They picked Jalen Hawkins. He was a safety out of Cal. He had a pretty decent season last year, but I think he signed with the Patriots. The Ravens, with that 2nd round overall pick, they took J.K. Dobbins, the running back. You know, he's been injury prone pretty badly. He recently signed with the Chargers. And then at the time, they traded their 5th round pick, the Ravens did, for Calais Campbell, who we ended up signing last year. And he didn't do too much for the Ravens. I think he had 6 sacks was the most he had. So I'll mark off the 4th and 5th pick, but we gave up a pretty high draft pick, a 2nd rounder for Hayden Hurst. And in 2020, Hayden Hurst had 56 receptions for 571 yards and 6 TDs, which in the 2020 season, those 6 TDs is the total of touchdowns that Kyle Pitts has had over the past 3 years. Now, granted, Hurst had Matt Ryan, and Kyle Pitts has had Marcus Mariota and Heineke and the name we shall not say that they tried to pick in the third round. We'll get to that later. So look, Hayden Hurst, I know he's not as athletic as Pitts. Pitts can be a game changer. And I know Pitts was hurt in 2021, and that can kind of count against his touchdown production. But the following year, Hurst still had 26 catches and 221 yards and 3 TDs in 2021. In 2022, he signed with Cincinnati. He had 52 catches for 414 yards and 2 TDs. So those are pretty good numbers, but to spend a second-round draft pick on Hayden Hurst, that already proved he had 56 catches for 571 yards and 6 TDs, that's pretty good production from a tight end. So why do we decide to use the 4th overall pick on Kyle Pitts? It's the highest a tight end has ever went in the NFL draft. Here's the kicker. We've always had a problem protecting Matt Ryan. We had a few years when we went to the Super Bowl and crapped the bed in the Super Bowl. Then the year after, we should have beat the Eagles too. But we've had problems protecting Matt Ryan. Well, Penei Sewell was picked like 2 or 3 picks after Kyle Pitts, and look what he's done for the Detroit Lions. I think you should build through the lines, through the trenches. Everyone says that. Everyone also says that, not everyone, a majority, and I'm talking about coaches that are no longer coaching, that has come into the media, always says that a first-round pick should be a day 1 starter. We'll get to that later as well. Kyle Pitts is a day 1 starter, but why are we luxury picking after we just spent a second round and got a decent tight end, Hurst, when we could have solidified our line, and then the year after, Ryan could have maybe had a better year? Okay, let's come back to Pitts for just a second. Let's look at Pitts' stats. So his first year, his rookie year, was tremendous with Matt Ryan. He had a good quarterback. He had 68 receptions with 1,026 yards. He only had that 1 TD, though. That was the thing. We always kind of had a problem with Matt Ryan in the end zone for whatever reason. And then in 2022, he got hurt that year, but before he got hurt, he had 28 receptions with 356 yards and 2 TDs. And then when he came back to 2023, he had 53 receptions with 667 yards and 3 TDs. So if you go back to what Hurst had, he had 56 receptions with 571 yards. So Hurst had a few more receptions and a lot more TDs. Pitts only had 3, but Hayden had 6. Pitts had, roughly 90 more yards than Hurst did his first year, but we also picked Jonnu Smith up last year, and he had 3 touchdowns with 50 receptions and 582 yards. We spent this top 5 pick, went and signed a free agent, and he almost had the same production as Pitts did. Now, granted, Ritter was our quarterback, so we have to put that into the equation as well. But it's so frustrating that we used a top 5 pick, and he's getting what a decent free agent signing did. That's the frustrating part. So while we're here, let's go ahead and look and see what Fontenot did in the rest of that 2021 draft. So in the second round, he picked Richie Grant, who was a safety out of Central Florida. Now, Richie's been a pretty good safety for us. He only played nickel his first year in 2021, but in 2022, he had 123 tackles. That's really good. And in 2023, last year, he had 103 tackles. Now, he's going to be fighting for that strong safety position with Helms, which I'll talk about later. But right now, he's on the depth chart. He's considered second string, but I wouldn't count that. We need to see what happens in the preseason. In the third round, they're like, hey, we do need offensive line help. Let's go get Jalen Mayfield, tackle out of Michigan. He struggled mightily. We could have had Sewell right here and really solidified that line and kept Hurst. What is Mayfield doing right now? He is a third string tackle for the New York Giants. Moving down to the next round, round 4, Darren Hall, cornerback from San Diego State. He is now in the deeps of the depth charts of the Arizona Cardinals. It showed he was fourth string. Doesn't matter. We had 3 fifth-round picks in 2021, and these provided good depth. We had Taquan Graham. He is one of our defensive tackles. He had a sack and 23 tackles last year, but he is good depth for our line. And I'm going to destroy this guy's first name, so I'm just going to say his last name is Ogundeji. He is in from Notre Dame. If we go to a 3-4, he'll play like an outside linebacker. He was on the IR all of last year, but in 2022, he had 42 tackles and 2 sacks. So the verdict's still out on him. Now, the last fifth-round pick that year, we did get Avery Williams. He was listed as a cornerback when he got drafted out of Boise State. He has become a very solid kick returner and punt returner for us. He's been our primary guy. He got hurt last year too, but he has been a solid pickup. And then in the 6th round that year, we got Frank Darby. He's been in between, like coming in when someone's hurt. He's been on the practice squad, and now he has no current team. He's hadn't re-signed with the Falcons or anything. But that was that year's draft pick. So some decent depth. We really struck out on the 3rd and 4th round, which you can't hit every pick. I understand that. But with the first pick, it's so important with that day 1 starter in positions we need and not drafting for luxury. Okay, so you want more examples. Okay, well, I'm going to give Fontenot a little break for the 2022 draft. Julio and Matt Ryan are cap casualties. It's understandable. They actually had to pull the trigger. It's one of the few things that I thought they did well to go ahead and make these moves. We needed a wide receiver. We needed a playmaker, which we thought we had in Pitts. Well, they went out and they got Drake London as the number 8 overall pick in the 2022 draft. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually think that's a good pick. You need that playmaker. And in the 2nd round, they got Arnold Ebiketie, who is a defensive end from Penn State. He actually had 6 sacks last year with 25 tackles. He is starting to show a lot of promise. I actually really like this kid, so that was a good pickup. And then we had another 2nd round pick that year. We drafted Troy Anderson. He's a linebacker out of Montana State. He's been doing good. He had 69 tackles his first year. He only had 19 tackles last year. He got hurt pretty early on in the season. And then with the 3rd pick, they went out and before the season started, they had picked up Marcus Mariota, which at the time I was pretty excited. I liked Mariota in Oregon. I thought he did pretty decent in Tennessee before he lost his job to Tannehill. I was like, hey, Arthur Smith coached him before. Maybe he can coach him up. And then they took Desmond Ridder. I'm like, okay, maybe they see something in this kid in the 3rd round. And good Lord, we all know how that worked out. Ridder just couldn't get the job done. Really, his fumbling, God, he couldn't hold on to the ball. He just, every time we needed him to make a play, he turned the ball over. He has now been traded to Arizona, and now he's Kyler Murray's backup. So within 2 years, he's already gone. Then we go to another 3rd round pick that year. We had D'Angelo Malone. He's a linebacker. He is going to probably just be depth for us. Now, here was a great pick. And this is going to lead into another problem that I have for next year. We picked up in the 5th round Tyler Algier, running back from BYU. His first year, his rookie season, he broke a Falcon record. He had 1,035 yards rushing. He had 3 rushing TDs. He had 1 receiving TD with 139 yards receiving. We also have picked up Cordero Patterson, and that year he had 8 rushing TDs with 695 yards rushing. So we're a running team, I understand that. But you have 2 really good running backs. I'll come back to that. Round 6 in 2022, Justin Schaefer from Georgia, he was just released. And then we also picked in another 6th-round pick, John Fitzpatrick. He's a tight end from Georgia, and he's like our 3rd-string tight end. He comes in to block on occasion, and I'm a homer as much as anyone for my Bulldogs, but I wish people would quit freaking out about us drafting Georgia Bulldogs. Pick who we need to pick. It doesn't have to be a Bulldog, even though I'm going to use that in my next discussion for the 2023 picks. But overall, 2022 was pretty decent, except for the Ritter. They misread that. But Drake London, I think, is going to be a good wide receiver. I think he is a number 1 wide receiver. And Ebiketie is going to be a solid defensive end. I'm excited to continue to watch him grow, and I hope Troy Anderson can stay healthy this year. Okay, welcome back to your regular scheduled program with the Atlanta Falcons drafting a luxury pick in the 1st round. So in 2023, with the 8th pick overall, who do we go with? Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas. Holy crap, this kid is a beast. He's a phenomenal athlete. Didn't you just hear me? No more than a few minutes ago, we have Tyler Algier, which is probably Fontenot's best pick, a 5th-round pick running back that ran for 1,000 yards with 3 touchdowns. We have Patterson with 8 rushing touchdowns and another 695 rushing yards. That's 1,700 total yards with 11 touchdowns. That is great production from 2 running backs. And what do? We pick up Bijan Robinson. Why? You have 2 good running backs. Guess who just fell to us? Jalen Carter. Yes, I'm a Dogs fan, but God, this guy, we could have solidified our defensive line some more, which we need. We can't get to the quarterback to save our lives. We could have picked him up and then this year made a defensive end pick. We'll get to that again later. But we could have had Jalen Carter. Because of this incident in college, he had failed to us. But Fontenot went with another offensive skilled player, which I'm going to revert back to. I think you should build the trenches if you don't have the trenches. If you can't get to the quarterback, you can't stop the run, which we couldn't stop the run several times. Sometimes we can't protect our quarterback. What is a skill guy worth anything if we can't keep our quarterback from staying on the ground or being constantly rushed? It means nothing. You're not going to have time to get these guys the ball. Hence Pitts and London's stats so far. But we go with another luxury pick. Okay, so I'm going to get on something real quick. I hate this definition of luxury pick. In the NFL, there's no such thing. Every team has to change or improve every year. Look at the Chiefs. They won a Super Bowl. They came back and lost the Super Bowl. Why did they lose the Super Bowl? Because the Bucs were all over Mahomes' ass. They were all over him in the Super Bowl. What did they go do? They go get him some protection. And what happens? He wins some more Super Bowls. It's not that easy. But they know how to build a team. They know how to fill in those holes instead of drafting something that you can't start right away that might not help your team win right away. The NFL is about winning now. Let's jump to the rest of the 2023 draft, because if Fontenot can draft like this for the rest of the draft, why does he keep messing up the first pick so bad, the most important one? So last year he got Matthew Bergeron in the 2nd round. He's our starting right guard. He's been doing good. 3rd round, we reached for Zach Harrison, but man, Zach might be pretty good. They might have done a good job with him. We're going to know more this year. And then in the fourth pick, they got Clark Phillips the third. God, he's been playing really well. And like I mentioned earlier, the seventh round pick, DeMarco Hellams, the safety out of Alabama, has been incredible. This goes along with Al Jair. It's one of his best picks. I mean, he is going to be fighting Richie Grant and possibly ahead of Richie Grant for that strong safety position. And then we got Jovan Gwynn, a guard in the seventh round last year, and he is some depth at our guard position. So last year was outside to me of his first pick. Wish we could have had Jalen Carter, and then he could finished out the rest of the draft like he did. Man, that would have been an incredible draft. But no, he had to go out and get Bijan. Now let's get to what all this fuss is about. This year, the Atlanta Falcons, I was so excited Thursday because I knew that a lot of teams needed a quarterback. We just signed Kirk Cousins to this massive contract, gave him a lot of guaranteed money. I loved the pickup. After watching Peyton Manning's QB1 on Netflix, it's hard not to like Kirk Cousins. He's trying to do everything he can to become a better quarterback with the little brain thingy on his head, which I thought was awesome. Him constantly going over plays, trying to stay in shape. Look, we all know about the Achilles injury, which I grew up a big Marino fan. Man, back then the Achilles was pretty bad. I mean, Marino could barely hand the ball off to a running back when he came back. But modern science has changed that. Aaron Rodgers really pushed through his, which was very impressive. Kurt looks like he's in good shape as well. I've watched him nail down the railroad tie for the Atlanta United Five Stripes. He threw the first pitch out for the Braves. I mean, he's walking around. He's looking good. I still have a lot of excitement for Kurt. But to make this team better, why did we just do what we did? We all know. Here we are. First round, 8th pick overall, Michael Penix Jr., quarterback from Washington. When Penix picked apart Texas, and I actually thought Washington would win that game. You can go back and watch my video on the playoffs. I had picked Washington over Texas. A lot of media and other people had picked Texas, but I had a lot of friends texting me going, "Oh my goodness, let's pick Penix now." Well, at the time, that was perfectly okay because we didn't go and sign Kirk Cousins to a contract. Now we have a 24-year-old rookie that's going to be holding a clipboard for 2 years when we need pass rush help. And that's what I was about to say earlier before I started talking about Kirk Cousins. A lot of teams needed a quarterback. We knew this. We had the 8th pick. The Raiders probably would have traded up so that they could get Penix or JJ, whoever they wanted. And then we could have fell back. Dallas Turner fell back. Leatu Latu didn't get picked until 15th by the Colts. So we could have still had our pick of defensive end or even Jared Verse. Jared Verse looks like a very good tight end as well. I wouldn't have cared which defensive end they picked. Just pick one. That player filling a big hole that we've needed for almost 10 years is better than a kid sitting on the sideline holding a clipboard. Can Cousins get hurt? Yes, but I hope that doesn't happen. I want us to have some good seasons. But you can watch Fontenot. It looks like he's telling Arthur Blank, he's like, well, like I said earlier, we're going to be in the 20s when we're picking. We might not have another shot at a quarterback. What are you talking about? Nothing's guaranteed in the NFL. Look, You thought that we were going to be in the playoffs last year and we couldn't get it done. What if we can't get it done this year because we can't rush the quarterback and our defense looks like crap? Yes, you went and picked some other defensive players in this round, but it makes no sense. We are not in a position to draft a quarterback. We already have Heineke. He's a decent backup. We had him cut his pay from $8 to $4 million, so now we're going to lose that. And now we still don't have a defensive end. We got Braylon Trice, and I hope he works out well. I'm trying to see the positive here, but I just can't after another senseless pick. I don't get it. Now, let's look at this. Everybody keeps comparing this to freaking Jordan Love and the Packers. This has nothing similar to the Packers. Jordan Love was picked the 26th pick in 2020, and everybody's like, oh, it's a luxury pick. It's a luxury pick. There is no pick in the luxury. Ask the Packers how much luxury that was. They went 13-3 that year. The following year, they went to the conference championship, and they got beat by the Buccaneers. A few picks after Jordan Love, Patrick Queen went. Do you think the Packers would have liked to have Queen on the linebacker side to maybe have shut down Fournette or maybe get a little pressure on Tom Brady in that conference championship? Heck yeah, because guess what? After they picked Jordan Love, we can go ahead and pick a quarterback. We're going to have a shot at the Super Bowl. Well, apparently you didn't because you lost the conference championship. Then you lost the division game. And then in 2022, Aaron Rodgers, last year with the Packers, you didn't even make the playoffs. So if they would have took their pick and picked up a defensive person or another weapon for Aaron Rodgers, maybe you win that game. You only lost by 5 points in the conference championship. Maybe you could have went to the Super Bowl and beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who had a problem protecting Patrick Mahomes. Maybe Queen would have been that guy. So you can't tell me that this is the same. It didn't help the Packers, and I don't think it's going to help us. Now look, in 3 years, if Cousin can get us to the playoffs, now I don't think we can go deep because I don't know if we have enough pieces. I hope we do. And in 3 years, I hope to goodness Penix becomes a good quarterback. I want the positive here. I actually really like Michael Penix. I want to keep saying it's not about the player. It's about the front office making picks that is senseless. We could have moved back, got some more draft capital, maybe went and got Spencer Rattler later on to have been a good backup for Kirk Cousins. And then if Kirk wanted to play all 4 of his years and we had a chance at maybe making it deeper in the playoffs, then we keep using those picks for that. All these other teams seem to keep doing well. Look at the freaking Eagles, man. They had 2 cornerbacks fall in their lap. My favorite guy, Quinyon Mitchell, if you go watch my draft video, you'll see I had the Falcons picking him first. I had them picking him. I hoping that they would trade back and get him. And then they have Cooper DeJean fall to him as well. I mean, the Eagles have done really well. Then we gave them Jalen Carter the year before because they had had a trade and they had the pick number 9 last year. But do you think they're drafting out of luxury? No, I don't think so. All these winning teams, they go out and they fill holes. I have not seen them pick this so-called luxury. So I'm going to kill that term. I'm not going to say it anymore. But what are we doing, Fontenot? Tell me. Explain it to me. Now you want to even come on Pat McAfee's show. Explain it to us. We're going to hold on to him for 3-4 years? So Kirk Cousins is that bridge quarterback now, right? Now you added all this unneeded pressure on him. Maybe he'll handle it well. I don't know. But we had him all over Atlanta, and now we have this. We are again the laughingstock of the NFL. Thanks, Fata. No. That's always fun. We'll never live 28-3 down. You wasn't here for that. But you could have changed our path, and I thought you might have been on the right direction. But 3 out of your 4 picks have been in positions that we truly just didn't need. And we could have already filled holes that we still have, which is defensive tackle last year, defensive end this year, offensive tackle 3 years ago. We could already had this. But, hey, you get paid the big bucks. I'm just a armchair GM. So, until you start winning, stop with these picks. If you start winning, then I'll shut up. But so far, we've had 6 losing seasons. You hadn't had a winning season since you've been here. So, win or go home. Okay, so I wanted most of my videos to be positive. So I'm going to end on a positive note. I lost 2 close friends in 2022. One of them being a guy that, oh man, I miss him so much. During draft season, like probably about 2 or 3 days before the draft, we would literally talk for 3, 4, we even talked 5 hours on the phone one time. 5 hours on the phone about the upcoming draft. And then during the draft, we would always be texting, even calling each other, talking through it. Especially when the draft was like all day Saturday and Sunday. We used to always talk. But something happened in this draft that, man, it just kind of hit my heart a little bit. But my friend Big G was a huge Georgia Bulldogs fan. Bigger than myself. And he grew up in San Francisco. He was a big San Francisco Giants fan. He also was a huge Oakland Raider fan. And to watch Brock Bowers go to the Raiders, Big G probably would have fell off his couch and probably would have been cheering. He would still be calling me 4 days after the draft, like it has been, or 5, 6 days after the draft, talking about Brock Bowers going to the Raiders. So it just reminded me to keep your friends close, because you never know what might happen. But memory of Big G, I want to give like a little brief silence, but I miss you, G. Rest in peace, buddy. As always, thank you for listening to Spider Red. Hit the subscriber like. Can't wait until football season. Man, it can't get here quick enough. Later.